Today's video is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. Anytime I get to talk about balls is the perfect time of month for me. And Manscaped, being one of our longest running partners, has wanted me to bring up an important fact with you. They are making something known as the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. The Beard Hedger, a new innovation, something that Manscaped really wants to push. Because ladies and gentlemen, what is the point of shaving your balls if you're not taking care of your face hair? Remember, this is going to lead the impression that gets people to even look at your balls in the first place. The Beard Hedger trimmer has an incredibly powerful 7,200 RPM motor and a titanium-coated T-blade that can cut through the thickest of beard bush in a single stroke. Whether you got that 5 o'clock shadow or at least a lion's mane. You can choose from 20 different hair cutting lengths with the zoom wheel that uses only one guard, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very simple to use. The beard trimmer is waterproof, cordless, and rechargeable, so you can trim in the shower while the water is running and save yourself some time. Manscaped has also created dermatologist-tested beard care products to help grow and nourish an amazing, magnificent beard, whether it be their beard oil, the beard shampoo, or the beard conditioner that's infused with coconut oil, shea butter, and vitamin E. And of course, beyond all of it, in this kit, you also get the travel case and the free gift, which are beard accessories, the beard brush, comb, and beard scissors. So go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off and free shipping when you use our promo code SOG. That's 20% off plus free international shipping with promo code SOG at manscaped.com. Join the 10 million men worldwide who enjoy Manscaped, and let's get on with today's video. Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and today we got to talk about why I don't trust the Helldivers 2 Anti-Cheat. And honestly, this title is something that I think if you're a longtime viewer of my channel, you come to expect, okay? I'm the kind of guy that when it comes to my computer, I tend to have everything pretty much monitored and controlled under me. When I built the Billy rig, okay, when I built my rig with multiple different operating systems and virtual machines and graphics cards, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to let any big corporate company run on the bare metal. My system is a Linux-powered system that I have complete control over. The software that I have running on my system is software that I very much trust. And the only high-level piece of software that I can't control is my graphics card, because ladies and gentlemen, without my graphics card, a whole lot of things in my computer would be useless. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is years ago I made a video where I talked about Valorant's anti-cheat and why I didn't necessarily trust it, and that was because the anti-cheat in that situation was a rootkit, it was a kernel-level anti-cheat. Now, since that video, since that era of gaming, kernel-level anti-cheats have become more prevalent than you can imagine. Almost every massive multiplayer game these days has a kernel-based anti-cheat. Whether it be BattleEye, whether it be Easy Anti-Cheat, whether it be something in-house like Ricochet, which powers Call of Duty, Warzone, and Modern Warfare 3. There are games these days released that all come with anti-cheats. And obviously, as you all understand, in the world of PC gaming, there are a lot of cheaters, okay? Plenty of them. There are games like Tarkov where cheating is almost an expectation when you matchmake for an online session. So obviously, game developers put in anti-cheats on PC to prevent the actual prevalence of cheating. Something like a console like a PlayStation or an Xbox usually has much more rigid safeguards in the software that it can run, where anti-cheats aren't necessarily a necessity. But for PC gaming, it's a big thing. Now, Helldivers 2 is a very popular game. I love this game. I enjoy it. It's a great cooperative experience. Spreading democracy around Super Earth is awesome. So before we begin, I want to really separate the game from the anti-cheat, okay? Helldivers 2, great title. Anti-cheat, I'm not really a fan of, nor do I trust, especially anti-cheat that gets really invasive into my system. So let's start off with why Helldivers 2, a predominantly PvE game, a game that doesn't even have you competing against other people, needs anti-cheat. So this game, if you have not played Helldivers 2, is a cooperative extraction shooter. And the whole concept of it is that there is a combined goal from every player in the entire game, like a server, the entire pool, all contributing towards a goal, right? So every week there's a goal that you contribute to, defend missions, capture missions, whatever. And the whole concept of it is every single thing that you and your squad do in one game session contributes a tiny percentage to an overall goal. So that's kind of how Helldivers 2 works. So there are two reasons why anti-cheat is needed. For one, you don't want to have hackers run around and absolutely tear through the goal and ruin the experience for people who are legitimately trying to play this game. And the other thing is, there is obviously a revenue component. This game also has microtransactionable currency, and I believe some of the premium stuff can be acquired through regular play. So clearly, a game company is going to be there with anti-cheat software to prevent people from getting access to premium currency, which can affect the revenue of the game. And this is an independent game. Obviously, there needs to be some level of control on that. That's why anti-cheat exists. So now that we know that, let's leave Helldivers 2 on the sidelines. The game is not so important. It's the anti-cheat that powers it that I care more about, and I think more people who come to this video are interested in general. Now, rootkit level anti-cheats or kernel-based anti-cheats are anti-cheats that run at the very, very highest level of your system's kernel. So to give you again a quick graph here, these are rings. The least privileged ring, ring 3 is up over here, and ring 0 is the kernel layer. So for instance, when we talk about user space or the space that you see and interact with on your computer, that is obviously not at the most privileged level of your computer's access. But a kernel-based anti-cheat resides here, again, right next to your kernel, meaning that it has the access to see some of the deepest layers of your system. Now, most anti-cheat software, if not all of them, are not necessarily built to spy on you. The reason they exist in this space, this deep, again, very privileged area, is because actual cheats these days, actual cheaters, use software that also resides in this space. If anti-cheat existed in like ring 3, for instance, and a cheat software existed in ring 0, there is a pretty understandable chance, obviously, that that cheating software is going to go pretty much unnoticed by the anti-cheat software because it doesn't have the abilities to look deep into the kernel and see what's actually going on. So I'm going to give you the best example from a group of scumbag cheaters who have made a cute graph to show you how this works. For instance, this is your gaming computer, right? This is where you're playing something like Helldivers 2, or I guess the better example is, let's use Rainbow Six Siege. So you're playing Siege right here. Now this computer is connected with a DMA card, which is a direct memory access card. Now that DMA card is plugged into the PCI Express slot, typically where you plug in your graphics card, and it allows another computer through the use of a USB cable to read your video game memory. And that's how a lot of hacks work. In order to use things like aimbots and ESP cheats and wall hacks, you need to be able to read the game memory, which is why another computer exists that reads the game memory while the actual game just plays the title. And through here, you can actually run things like other, aimbots, trigger exploits, recoil hacks, so on and so forth. So using all of these other pieces of hardware, that's how you actually get by certain hacks that exist. It's one of the reasons why even virtual machines that I use to game are typically banned by anti-cheat software. Because once you access the memory for any computer, whether it be through a virtual machine or through one of these PCI Express cards, it can be very difficult for an anti-cheat to basically figure out where the hacker actually is. It's why if you're a good closet cheater, you can get away for months, if not years, without ever really being detected by even the best anti-cheat solutions that exist. Now, I want to start off by saying do not use any of these devices. They're not exactly legal for video games, nor should they be. And again, they're also pretty illegal depending on where you live in the world. Also, they go up against terms of services, and you will go to hell, by the way, if you use cheats in a video game online. Plus, you're a fucking scumbag, okay? There's a lot of negatives here. Just get good at the game or stop playing, loser. Jesus Christ. And again, all of this doesn't even involve the next generation of cheating software that exists. For anybody that doesn't know, there is literally AI-based cheating software that doesn't even touch the memory of the game. It just looks at a video feed of a first-person shooter and is able to, in real time, correct your aim and aimbot without the game ever knowing. These kind of cheats are nearly undetectable by almost any anti-cheat on the market right now. In order to combat AI cheating, you need to have AI built for anti-cheat. Okay? You have literal artificial intelligence, unartificial intelligence violence for this. It's a arms race. If you ever wonder why, it's because there is a lot of money and a lot of reputation on the lines of people that gain really high ranks in these competitive shooters. You know, there are stories of Twitch streamers who keep getting caught with cheating software because they play at a really high level on the internet. And of course, you know, when it all, and that it is what it is, right? Like if you're in that market and you're competing against millions of other people for that super high prestigious rank, you might end up using a cheat or two. It's disgusting. Unfortunately, it happens. Okay, so now that you've kind of understood about anti-cheats and I've kind of given you a little bit of an update on this, what anti-cheat does Helldivers 2 use? And why has it gotten so much controversy? Why was the game getting review bombed and why was there a big discussion? Well, the cheating engine that it actually uses, the anti-cheat engine, is known as N-Protect Game Guard. Now, if you're somebody that plays like old school Korean, like free-to-play MMOs, like I used to back in the day, you know, IJJI.com, all that stupid shit, you probably know of what N-Protect Game Guard is. In fact, the games that it's been used on are games known as City Racers, Fly FF, of course, Helldivers 2 being one of the big popular games, Lineage 1 and 2, Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst, Maple Story, and of course, even Phantasy Star Online 2. So yeah, this is a pretty popular piece of anti-cheat software, and again, it is a very, very, very deep rootkit. That's just how it has to work. And the entire goal of this is to prevent cheat software from even running on your system. GameGuard effectively hides the game application process, it monitors, again, that memory range, and it terminates those applications that is defined by the game vendor to be cheats. So if the game vendor says, you know, cheat engine is, for instance, a cheat, right? Like, it'll basically prevent that from running. The way that they designed this is, you know, to obviously isolate the game and prevent people from modifying it or using software in general. That's just how it works. And for anybody wondering, bro, how long have they been around? This anti-cheat, the company behind it, Inca Internet, is actually a South Korean company that has been around for 24 years. We're talking January 2000. They've been around, and they don't just make anti-cheat software. They're around making all kinds of antivirus and internet security-based solutions. So this is a big organization. This is a big company. It has history to it. Now, personally speaking, if you ask me, I think better solutions for Helldivers 2 and Sony would have been if they went with BattlEye. As much as I have disdain for BattlEye, I think it might be a better solution. Something like Easy Anti-Cheat, which powers tons of popular games, like I believe Fortnite and even Halo Master Chief Collection. Why Sony didn't go with them might be up to whoever was running this deal in the background, right? Again, these are just vendors and companies will pick whichever one comes to them first, or whoever has the more applicable solution for their operation. Now, this anti-cheat has its own levels of controversy, right? Months ago, when I talked about something known as Undecember, a game that was like a Diablo-like clone that I couldn't even run on a virtual machine, was, from my understanding, powered by this exact rootkit anti-cheat software. And one of the problems was, of course, if you look through the Steam discussions for that game, was people were trying to wonder how they could even remove this. Because one of the big problems was, even if you uninstalled the game that the anti-cheat was associated with, the anti-cheat would never go away. So they would have to make special tools just to help remove software like this. Software that should have been removed by the time you were uninstalling a game. See, one of the big problems with this kind of software is that it persists more than it should. The fact that you have to download a different tool in order to uninstall the actual anti-cheat that comes bundled with a game, in my opinion, is fucking absurd. And then, obviously, people would have to go through their Windows registries, the deepest parts of their system, to make sure every little nook and cranny was clean of this software. Now, since then, I'm pretty sure that somebody at N-Protect or the companies that work with them decided to bring this up because Helldivers 2 is actually really different. If you go to Helldivers 2 and browse its local files, you can actually go to the tools directory and do gguninstall.exe. That'll uninstall, from my understanding, all of the software regarding that that N-Protect Game Guard. Now, the other big thing about this software is it actually works underneath Linux entirely. As a Linux gamer, I can play Helldivers 2 on my system. I can play it on the Steam Deck, which is a little unprecedented for invasive anti-cheat like this to even work underneath Linux. Because the way Linux games work is that they're Windows versions, but they're wrapped around, something we call Wine, which is a compatibility layer. And the fact that anti-cheats work is a little surprising. And so if you want to uninstall this from Linux, you could basically just delete the game and the associated Wine directory that basically is the container for the game's files. You could just do that, and it's actually a lot easier than Windows. Surprisingly, it's a weird bonus we get. Now, the other bit of controversy that ended up happening in this situation too was obviously even other games like Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst, that also required you to download special software to remove those extra anti-cheats. Again, you shouldn't even need to do that. But one of the severe sort of controversies come all the way from this right here. Now, this vulnerability report says NProtect GameGuard NPP-TNT2 gain access. That's a little confusing. NProtect GameGuard could allow a remote or local attacker to gain unauthorized access caused by a vulnerability in their specific driver, which allows unrestricted I/O for any process by masking the permission mask. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is obviously pretty dangerous, and you don't want a hacker to get access to it. But if you read real closely, ladies and gentlemen, this was reported January 6, 2005, making it almost 20 years old that this was detected. Clearly, NProtect GameGuard had addressed this and patched their software up so this wouldn't be abused. Now again, this is kind of similar in a way to something else that happened recently with another big game known as Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact had another actual anti-cheat, and one of the drivers, mypro2.sys, could be used to actually work alongside malicious software and get unprecedented access into your system. So according to Trend Micro, during the last week of July 2022, a ransomware infection was triggered in a user environment that had endpoint protection properly configured. So when they analyzed, they found a code-signed driver, the same driver from the Genshin Impact anti-cheat, basically used to bypass privileges. As a result, commands from kernel mode killed the endpoint protection processes. So by using an anti-cheat driver that had the deepest level of access to your system, they were able to bypass any protection. And see, that's where the real untrustworthy parts come out of. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't trust anti-cheat developers because I think they're secretly spying on your system. If you're worried about your system being spied on, installing Helldivers 2 is its own mistake. If you don't trust the game developers, then don't even bother installing their game. They can do a lot more damage without even involving an anti-cheat in the first place. And anti-cheat software is not going to go out of its way to directly spy and steal information from you. That is highly illegal shit, and nobody is going to risk doing that. The only reason I say I don't trust this is because I have their software sitting on my system. It can be used potentially by bad actors to attack me or anybody else in the future. And as some of the examples I just showed you, that can be the case. Now, obviously, if you're worried about anti-cheat software, I'm going to just basically level with you real quick. You probably should be more worried about antivirus software. For instance, February 22, literally of this year, the FTC order will ban Avast from selling browser data for advertising purposes. And they required them to pay $16.5 million, which, by the way, is pennies on the dollar for an organization like Avast, over charges the firm sold browsing data after claiming its products would block online tracking. So if you actually read it real quick and you read through the complaint, you'll find out that Avast, which was one of the largest antivirus softwares you could download for free, and antivirus software is as invasive, if not more, than anti-cheat software. Yeah, they were basically alleged to sell your data, sell your private information, to third parties, which obviously is a big no-no. They were fined for it, and if you're worried about your personal information, this might be more interesting to you. It's one of the reasons why I don't use anti-cheat software at all. I use something known as common sense. I don't run weird executables, and I don't go to shady websites without a VM. Therefore, I don't need these shitty antivirus softwares that exist for free literally so they can do some shady shit, and I only find out about it like years down the road. Now, even obviously Helldivers 2 developers have talked about this, and they've, Peter Lindgren, who's the technical director, actually discussed this, where they said, is GameGuard a kernel-level administrator privilege anti-cheat? Yes, GameGuard is kernel-level, aka rootkit anti-cheat. Most anti-cheat run at kernel level, especially all the popular ones, and he's not wrong. And of course, he says that anti-cheats that run in user mode can be less effective. And here he even tells you if you want to uninstall Helldivers 2, he says even when you uninstall, GameGuard is removed at the same time the game is uninstalled. And they even give you that same uninstaller tool I showed you in the actual game directory files. Now, I personally don't trust and protect GameGuard, and I don't trust this on the same level that I don't trust Vanguard, I don't trust Easy Anti-Cheat, and I don't trust something like, BattleEye. I don't trust rootkit software running on my system in general. And again, you shouldn't trust it because the company behind the anti-cheat or the game developer spying on you, you should just not trust these things because they're very invasive for very little gain. Again, if this was my graphics card, I could understand that. I use it to visualize things on my system. But if it's a game that I play from time to time, I don't think any software should be running entirely on the system. Now, it also depends on how long that piece of software runs. One of the big differences between this and Vanguard at the time was Vanguard, from my knowledge, when it first released, was running pretty much as soon as you booted up the system. And that is obviously not something anybody likes. Obviously, if you're not playing the game, why is the invasive software even running? Now, since then, you can disable it, and with a lot of these anti-cheats, their drivers are only actually active when the game is running. In fact, I even checked this myself by looking through the network stack itself through the actual virtual machine I ran Helldivers 2 in. So again, these kind of virtual machines, these kind of anti-cheats that do in some capacity work on virtual machines, I play games right there and then. And that's how I separate. I don't allow these things to run on my native system. What I do is I run a Windows virtual machine and I install all of my multiplayer games. Games like Call of Duty, games like Rainbow Six, Escape from Tarkov, Helldivers 2. And I run them underneath a virtual machine so I can have that layer of separation. So even if they are running really invasive, the most invasive they are on a virtual machine and not my actual system, where real damage can be done. But again, not everyone has a solution like that, so again, it's really up to you if you trust these organizations and their software with your computer and personal information. And look, for most people, they don't really care. Most people are just here to play video games, and they don't give a shit about their personal information. I don't agree, but it is the world we live in. You have that choice. But yeah, I wanted to look into Helldivers 2 anti-cheat, and yes, Protect GameGuard is probably the shittiest anti-cheat, in my opinion, they could have used. If it was up to me, probably would have went with BattleEye, probably would have went with Easy Anti-Cheat, a somewhat reputable vendor, but we're here right now, okay? And that's pretty much the world we're in. If you are really worried about these kind of cheats and you don't want to expose your computer, and you have the money to buy a PlayStation, that might be a better solution. You can install the game there and never have to worry about shit like shady anti-cheats. That said, though, ladies and gentlemen, this is all I really wanted to get into. I wanted to give this a little seal of approval. I wanted to talk about it. In general, I have no reason and no actual evidence based on any analysis that this is spying on you. Now, again, should something be running this deep? That's a matter of, personal opinions. This is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.